Alright, welcome to round 9 of the FRL Division 2 Championship. Here we are in Azerbaijan, where this camera is giving us a great POV of the pits because that little Rolex sign is just completely blocking it. And apparently the devs just completely messed up with their camera placement because you cannot see anything. On the bright side, we do have a couple cars going out on track right now. Zop's just going ahead and getting started, making his way around this track. And speaking of, let's take you on a little bit of a guide of the Baku City Circuit. So this circuit has a total 20 corners to make your way around. And many of them can be quite tricky because this track, it's a fast circuit. If you look at the mini-map at the bottom right, you can see that massive main straight. You want to carry the minimum amount of downforce possible that you can get away with. But that's going to cost you a lot in this castle section. You can see a lot of winding turns where you can lose a lot of time, honestly. So you'll have to drive very carefully. A lot of turns are full 90-degree turns, if not even more. And so, again, you have to be very careful, especially with how you overtake going into a lot of these corners. Now, as I said before, you want to carry minimum downforce because straight line speed is invaluable in riding on board with Sancho. You're about to see why, because already you're going full throttle through these corners, and then you're going just maximum push down this entire incredibly long straight. And here you can make an overtake or two, especially with the aid of DRS, which is down here. The other DRS zone actually being just after turn 2, so they're nearly back to back. So you're going to see plenty of overtaking here. However, this is definitely among the hardest circuits to drive at on the calendar. I wouldn't say it's the hardest, that I think still goes to Monaco. But this can easily catch a driver out for even a slight mistake because, again, it's a street circuit, the walls are very close, and the castle section is by far the most brutal, specifically the beginning part of it, where, of course, in 2019, a certain Ferrari driver was stupid. If you know, you know. But qualifying, it's going to be important, but let's say you do crash out, it's not the worst case scenario because a safety car is quite likely. I'm just being quite blunt about it. Because, again, it's the nature of this track. We saw plenty of safety cars in Division 3 and Division 1 yesterday, where we had a pretty thrilling race going from wet to dry. And well, I will say this. When it comes to racing, Baku always delivers. And already, there's a time to beat. Semi puts in a 140.2, a brilliant lap. Meanwhile, Kirito goes second overall, Yeti third. Now, and then in the Division 1 race yesterday, Yeti and his teammate Prid both raced in Division 1 reserving, and they were both in Haas. Even though they were in Division 1, they both qualified within the top 5. Prid went on to win the sprint, ultimately DNF in the race, not his fault whatsoever how it happened. And meanwhile, Yeti, who we're seeing right now, got second place in the feature. So we know that these two are incredibly rapid around here, and they're going to be a very serious threat. Already, plenty of other drivers are showing their mettle through these very difficult twists and turns. And now Baby Dwight, he's finished up his lap for the most part, but the car behind him is getting a generous tow. I think the two Alfa Romeos are working together here. Baby Dwight goes 7th, his teammate goes just ahead of him, and that tow did help out quite a bit. And honestly, that's a smart strategy. The tow is immensely valuable around here. That back straight, if you get a tow, it can get you multiple tenths. But already we have a multiple drivers DNFing, just crashing, I think. checking in. Do we have a TNF on the main straight? It's actually a little bit hard to tell. Yeah, that is a car demolished on the main straight. I think Atmos crashed, and then Kermit just kind of went into him on accident, and he is not pleased right now. But that's gonna put all of them below. Now, this is a short qualifying. That's because we're gonna be going into a sprint race, followed up by the feature. And right now, the sprint is gonna be looking exciting because Kermit, Atmos, and Fred, like, they're all decent drivers. Fred, he has remarkable consistency, and that's the best thing that he can do. Kermit, though, he's incredibly rapid. And while after having DNF to qualifying, he is definitely gonna want to make up for some lost time. Now we have Fred running through right now, getting ready to finish up a lap, and he's gonna get a very nice tow from, looks like the Red Bull of Phil Monster getting ready to go on a flying lap. This tow is going to be immensely valuable for him, and I have a feeling Fred is going to put himself very high up. Yeah, he's going to get a massive tow from this. And, well, Phil Monster, the Red Bull, he's getting ready to go on a flying lap, so he absolutely has to push to the maximum. Fred going across the line, manages to go only 7th, however, just a little bit behind his teammate. However, his tires are a little bit older, and so that's probably making a bit of a difference. Now, we had Phil Monster going through, being a little bit close to the wall there, actually. Uh, I'm actually quite surprised that he didn't break off a bit of a front wing there, but at the moment he seems to be doing solid. But I think we're really going to see how he stacks up once he gets across the line. I think this is actually his first race, or at least the first one that I've seen. Now, Phil Monster goes across the line, only goes 13th, but is ahead of his teammate, but his teammate is looking to improve right now. We only have Nagans in the pits, reserving for Aston Martin, though he's typically a Red Bull driver in Division 3. Kirito's making his way through on his flying lap. Now, Kermit and Kirito have a little bit of a rivalry. If you're interested in seeing that, actually, in my Twitch, if you go to the About section, you can see the FRL YouTube channel, and there, we have posted some of the races thus far, and we're gonna get everything caught up very soon. Now, if you want to see how fierce the rivalry between Kirito and Kermit can get, I highly recommend watching the Miami Division 2 race. The two of them honestly had a spectacular battle, and I don't know if we're gonna see it again here, but I hope so. Sancha making his way through Sector 2. He's looking a little bit more rapid through here, but the question is, will the timetables show a rapid improvement. He is going to have to watch out for a bit of traffic coming up. That's the Aston Martin. Actually, he might get a bit of a tow from that. Well, let's see, here's our Sector 2. Let's see, kind of improvement. I would say 7/10 is a bit of an improvement. Who is that that's leading a little bit there? I think that was hard to tell. Bill Mustard, though, kind of needs to get out of the way of his teammate running through there. Honestly, if I were Phil, I kind of would have just tried to push and just given my teammate a bit of a toe there, you know? Give him a little bit of a hand. But Zancho, I don't know if he's going to need it. Okay, actually he might, so that bumps him up only just ahead of his teammate. Meanwhile, Radioactive, he's up 3/10. At the rate that he's going, he's going to be able to put himself ahead of DK, but he needs a little bit more time if he hopes to get into those top spots. Pushing as hard as he possibly can, going across the line, he puts himself, yep, only 8th just ahead of DK. Meanwhile, we have Yeti making his way through Sector 1. He's currently 5th overall, but if he just gets a couple of hundreds, he can put himself ahead of Kirito. If he gets a couple of 10s, he can put himself ahead of No Limit, potentially Waldo. Wow. About 2.5 tenths gain there. That alone is going to be enough to put, what was that? Yeti just had to completely abort his lap there. Well, that's unfortunate. He was 2/10 up, and he probably would have been able to take pole, I think, honestly, with the time that he was putting in. Waldo got a little bit stuck on the curb there. That was certainly a strange one. He's leading by the Red Bull of Sancho. Waldo is still 2nd overall, though, and that time seems to be uncontested at the moment. Though Yeti, you can see he's backing off a lot here, letting by a couple of drivers on what he thinks are flying last, but Sancho's on a cooldown, as well as Radioactive, and the car behind him as well, Waldo. And the question I'm wondering is Yeti planning to do another flyer? Because if so, he doesn't have a ton of ERS remaining. I think his game plan may just be to go into the pits and go out one more time, but he's not going to have a ton of that remaining. And Breda looks like he invalidated on and hit the 10th, but he stayed up 20 DRS, so I think he's going to have another go at it. And yes, his teammate did make his way to the pits. Yeti, though, I have a feeling he's soon going to make his way back out, because there isn't a ton of time remaining. A little under 3 minutes, well, a little under 4 minutes left to go. And as you can see with the times, it's almost a 2-minute lap time. So if you want to put in a lap, you need to do it and get out there pretty soon. Here we have DK looking to potentially improve here, getting a little bit close to the wall, where many drivers have honestly fallen victim by braking too late. DK's down by over a second and a half, though. I think DK is just rushing his way back into the pits to try one more lap. Wondertoast is a little bit less concerned, it seems. He's just kind of taking his time here. Meanwhile, we have Big Cheese making his way through, getting his lap started. Now, Big Cheese making his way through, wait, did he actually, wow, he matched his Sector 1 time, exactly. I'm actually kind of surprised. I've never seen that before. I've never seen someone exactly match a sector time like that. But that means he's going to need to find the most improvements in Sector 2, and already, like, he's cutting corners impressively, so without invalidating. So I think he's going to find a lot of time here. But he's got that McLaren in front of him. Oh! He hits the wall. That might result in some damage. Wouldn't be surprised if that wing is a little bit green. And yep, he's down by over 6/10. You can see he's slowing down, kind of backing out. He realizes he's not going to improve here. And unfortunately, I think that's going to spell the end of his qualifying as well. Meanwhile, his teammate is running through right now through Sector 2. He was down a little bit actually in Sector 1, but Sector 2 is going to be the most essential one to find a lot of time to gain. Sector 3, you can't find a ton of time there because it's a relatively straightforward sector. No pun intended. But, yeah, maybe Dwight, he's completely down. He's not going to be able to improve whatsoever. Although I guess it wouldn't really be a pun, but to be fairly, that final sector is quite literally straightforward. For the most part. Anyways, Sato is getting ready for one final run. His teammate is also doing the same, and many others are getting ready to do their last attempt. Wolfgang is finding a little bit of improvement in Sector 1, but Sector 2 is going to be the key here. You can see how quickly they maneuver their way through the castle section, just getting really close, yet not touching the wall. Big Cheese retired in the pits. Kirito improves to a 140.2 to take provisional pole. But Sebi is up by 3/10 in Sector 1 alone. If he continues at this rate, he's going to be able to snatch it back by a pretty strong margin. No Limit is not going to be able to improve because he's completely stuck. He messed up. Oh, that's unfortunate for him. Yeah, he's trapped in. Meanwhile, Yeti is just hard pushing, but he's got a car in front of him, and that might spell a problem. That's the Alfa Romeo there of, I think, Baby Dwight. And yes, it is. I think he's attempting another flyer here. You can see Yeti running as quickly as he can. He's finding a little bit of improvement, but if he can get a toe off of Baby Dwight in front of him, it can make a difference. Debbie does improve by a massive margin with a 139.616. That is going to secure pole. Well, he also improved, managed to beat Kirito out to take the spot on the front row. Meanwhile, Yeti getting a massive toe right now from Baby Dwight, manages to bump himself up to third. Meanwhile, Kirito's a few seconds down. His teammate, though, Prid, manages to go third overall. Alpine at third and fourth right now. Kirito, he's not going to be able to improve at all. Waldo is finding some improvement here. He's gained a couple tenths, and that's going to put Kirito down potentially another spot. Oh, actually, he lost a bit of time in Sector 2. It's going to be this final sector that really counts for him and could make the difference between him being ahead or behind Kirito. You know, DK's finding a little bit of speed as well. Now, Waldo, has he found enough to beat out the Ferrari driver going across the line? He does improve, but unfortunately not enough. Wondertoast is finding a ton of improvement, though. Will it be enough to get ahead of anybody? No, it won't. He's still going to be starting P11, unfortunately. Alright, and that was the end of a pretty exciting qualifying, honestly. Cass is looking pretty good with Sebi behind the wheel. Wolfgang is going to start second, and honestly, Williams has been getting some upper momentum as well. Meanwhile, we have Prid and Yeti starting third and fourth. Fantastic qualifying, though. I imagine that, like, Prid and Yeti, if they just had a little bit more time, they could be ahead of Wolfgang potentially. Still, it's going to be a good starting point going into the sprint, which we're going to see momentarily. And as for Ghostly, just disregard him. He was spectating, but the game glitched him. Alright, and here we are getting ready. Now, for those watching the stream, this is not a graphical glitch. I thought it was, but it's actually that massive Rolex sign that they have in the pit lane. You would think that it is a glitch. I thought it was, but no, it's just that the massive pole. And for some reason, the devs put the camera to where the POV is just behind it, when it should be just ahead of it. So, I hope they fix that. Alright, here on the formation lab, there is the predicted pit stop strategy. So, a lot of versatility going in there. There's a Rolex sign that I mentioned right there. That is what is blocking the pit lane. But anyways, we have a couple interesting tire choices here. But yeah, the strategy is so important here. It's either a no stopper or a no stopper. So, it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers play this out. Whether they're going to choose to do a no stopper or take a greater risk by doing a no stopper. But all jokes aside, Kermit and Atmos are making an interesting play here going on the soft tires because, well, those are going to struggle. Now, Fred, with heroic effort in Division 3, managed to make the soft last 11 laps before he got a puncture. So Kermit's going to be cutting it close. However, it's honestly not the worst strategy call because a safety car is very, very quickly. We have a half starting at the front and a half starting at the back. So the two are most certainly going to be running full force. Sebby wanting to, of course, win the sprint and then the feature, and Fred wanting to make up for a little bit of lost ground. Meanwhile, we have Wonder Toast, who I imagine it's not going to be too pleased about being P11. However, when he reserved it, I think Kermit and Big Tribe may have had a little collision in the formation lab, and that causes them both to be disqualified. Looks like their tires are warmed up, because otherwise, they're going to be struggling off the start. Alright, so these drivers are really taking their time. Speaking of, Mac is all the way towards the back, but he's running as quickly as he can to kind of catch up, and that's putting a little bit of heat in the tires as well. Now, something that I wouldn't be surprised if you see one or two drivers doing it is spinning around a little bit. At the moment, we don't really see much of that. They're just weaving a little bit here. But some drivers do that to try and warm up their tires. But we're not seeing that here, but wow. Look at the angle Fred has going to the start. That is a very aggressive angle. He's immediately going to be going on the attack. His car's just jutted out and like, what is that? What angle is that? That's honestly, that's going to be interesting to see. I guess we're going to see how effective it's going to be. As 5 red lights are going to be coming on here in Baku for the sprint. And it is lights out, away we go. I think Frank got a pretty good getaway, but Welton got an even better one than Sebi. He's going to be able to put himself ahead into turn 1, and a massive pile-up immediately off the bat because it went 3 wide. Yeti is already out, and Kermit is up to P8. Oh, that is so unfortunate, and, well, that's why you don't go 3 wide into turn 1. Atmos and Fred have a collision. Oh, what happened there? Well, immediate chaos off the bat. Waldo overtakes Kermit as that's Big Cheese coming up fast. Kermit making a move on the inside of Big Cheese. Big Cheese still keeping alongside, but not for long. Oh, it's a safety car that's triggered, or at least a VSC. Are Kermit and Big Cheese racing? I think someone may have an illegal overtake going on. What is it going on here? Okay. There we go, that was confusing, but I think it's just a VSC. Unfortunately, the game doesn't like to show whether it's a VSC or not. Because in the previous game, it used to show VSC safety car. Instead, it just shows yellow flags across all sectors. But I don't see a safety car coming out, and yeah, it is a VSC. Just saw that from the sign indicator. Still, Kermit had a very lucky start, already up to P7. Yet he had horrific luck, just caught up in that incident. Prid, he didn't have the strongest start, and then his teammate got alongside, and I think Kirito got alongside as well. And just going 3 wide, it just spelled disaster. Anyways, we're back on our way. Safety car ended relatively quickly, and Kermit already made a move on Waldo. He's really utilizing these soft tires, and Sancho is out. Oh, he's crashed in the middle of that straight. That could easily catch up a driver there if they're not careful. Outpost goes straight into him, and he's out as well. Big Cheese, DK, and Waldo all make their way into the pits for a set of soft tires and new front wings. Meanwhile, Kermit is doing his best to catch up, and he's trying to make up for some lost time here. At the moment, he is P6, and already that's a massive improvement over the few back row spots. So I imagine he is pretty happy to be where he is right now, but it's certainly going to be looking to improve. However, it's only a matter of time before the soft tire dies out, so he's going to have to make it count very quickly. Meanwhile, oh, that's No Limit. He's broken his front wing. That's going to cost him a lot of time, and that's going to allow Kermit to catch up quite quickly. No Limit's going to have to make his way into the pits, but we have yellow flags across all sectors. Is that another It's another VSC. What happened? I'm unsure, but there's a VSC now. No Limit is going to take this opportunity to make his way into the pits, and that's going to put Kermit yet another spot up. And honestly, this safety car, it's doing him a favor because it's allowing him to save his tires a little bit. Oh wait, actually, who else went in? I think that was... Wait, Kermit's up to P4? Did something happen to Prid? Something's happened to Prid. He was in the top 5, and now he's down to P8. Now we have a few other drivers making their way into the pits as well. Oh, and No Limit gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the VSC. Big Cheese is out. Did he retire in the pits? I think he retired in the pits. Well, we are in the sprint, and we have already lost 6 people. Make that 7. No Limit is out. We're barely a third of the way through, and we've already lost over a third of the drivers. I think something happened to Kermit. He's down to P9. Oh, yep, something must have happened to him because he has wing damage on the right end plate. It's completely gone. Meanwhile, Sebi he's pushing to the maximum right now, trying to gain on the Williams of Welting. Gonna have that rear wing opening up in just a moment, and yep, there it goes. And now he's gonna be able to gain a Welting. The Welting has a ton of straight line speed going for him. That's gonna do him a load of favors. Meanwhile, Phil Lester, he's ahead of Wonder Toast and Radioactive. Oh, the two coming together, and that causes Radioactive to spin out. And it's really tough to just go too wide in the turn 1, let alone 3, which is what caused a massive pileup at the start of the race. Meanwhile, Kermit, he's down to P9. I think he's just doing his best to keep up right now. Unless the safety car triggers, I doubt he's going to make his way into the pits again. Well, I think... No, Big Witch just retired in the pits. We now have only 12 people remaining. And we're not even halfway through, and we nearly lost half the grid. What is happening right now? Meanwhile, Sebi's losing touch as well, I think he's lost DRS range, and that's not good for him. Meanwhile, Wondertoes is doing his best to catch up to Phil, potentially get himself into the top 4, and yeah, he has much more straight line speed than the Red Bull right now. And you can see it's going to give him a nice show, especially with the help of DRS. Once you see that rear wing opening up, he's going to be able to push hard, but I actually think Phil might have a little bit more on the straight. Wonder Toast is sending it right now. Look at how late he braked. That gave him plenty of momentum, and now he is much closer to Phil. I think Phil is actually struggling in the downforce department, which is allowing Wonder Toast to catch up so rapidly, and it's going to be enough to put him alongside. Now they're both charging towards turn 3. Wonder Toast puts himself clear of Phil and puts himself into 4th. Nearly spins out in the process, but saves the car. Oh, and Phil, he just hit the wall there. That might be a bit of damage to the left side of his front wing. If so, he's going to be losing a bit of time. That's not good for him, because he's got Fred coming up quickly. And honestly, Fred is doing well. Despite damage, he's actually gaining on those 2 cars in front of him. You can see he's just maximum pushing right now, doing his best to make up for that lost time. And it's really putting in a massive difference. Plus, that missing front wing piece, it's actually going to give him less downforce and thus more straight line speed. You're going to see him catch up a little bit faster down this straight. Meanwhile, looks like Phil, he put in enough speed to clear Wonder Toast. Wonder Toast dies on turn 1 and spins out. Yeah, I will admit that that was a little bit too late from Wonder Toast to try a move like that. I don't think it would have worked. And it's unfortunate for Wonder Toast. He tried his best, but that's going to cost him. Now we have Fred, he's rapidly gaining on Phil here, and if he continues to keep up like this, he should be able to find a way through. Meanwhile, Kermit is gaining little by little on Death Star Null, but that wing damage is certainly slowing him down. But I think Death Star Null has a bit of damage as well. I could be mistaken there. But looking at it, Kermit is gaining here. If he gets just out of Death Star, he can get a points finish in the sprint. Wait. Am I mistaken, or is Kermit entirely missing his front wing? He's entirely missing his front wing. Is he just going to try to finish out like this? I think he's actually going to try to finish out like this. I mean, on the bright side, he's going to have much less downforce, and that's a whole lot more straight line speed. And you can see him doing his best to keep up with Death Star, but he can't get within DRS range. Meanwhile, Prid, he's going to have a lot of speed, enough to maybe get alongside Phil, but he may be trying to pull a bit of a switcheroo, but he doesn't. Prid, I think if he really wanted to, he could have put himself alongside, but it would have been very risky, so I think it was wise of him. But he actually got ahead of Phil there. Did Phil just have a really bad exit? I think that must have been the case or something, because Prid, one moment he was behind, the next he was ahead. Now, Phil, I doubt is going to be too pleased about losing position there. You can see he's doing his best to keep up, and if he can make the move back on him on the back straight. I will say this, nobody else is DNF'd, but at the same time, there is a massive gap between everybody else, so no one can go wheel to wheel, and it's probably contributing to it, but I'm kind of mortified that in the sprint race alone, we've had 8 drivers DNF. Okay, technically 7 because Ghostly was glitched into a car when he was really just spectating. So okay, we'll say 7. That's still a third of the field in the sprint, which is a third of the race distance. That does not bode well. Meanwhile, Phil is rapidly gaining on Prid here. Will be enough to get alongside going into turn 3. No, it won't. He's going to have to remain behind. Oh, Phil gets another snap of oversteer there. Just struggling to try and keep control of the car, and that's costing him a lot of time. He bangs into the wall a little bit there, and now he's in danger of losing DRS range, and that's not good, because he's got Radioactive coming up fast, and he is within DRS range. Yellow flag in Sector 1, that's Nagkins, I think, going into the runoff. Well, looks like we have some news here. Well, dang, he's missing his front wing, and he's battling Sebi on the final lap of the race. Can he get ahead of the Hats driver? Yes, he can, but he's going to be suffering so much in the corners. Yellow flag in Sector 2. That's Nagkin spun out. Meanwhile, Waldo overtakes Kermit, but he oversteps. Kermit just hits him into the wall. And that's probably going to be a penalty coming Kermit's way later. Because, I mean, Waldo, I think either he did hit the wall or he very nearly did, and Kermit just made sure he hit the wall there. I mean, when we have Radioactive, look at the line he's taking. He's desperate to get ahead, and he's just pushing the car beyond its limits. Meanwhile, we have Sebi. He's gaining on Weltang here, but it's going to be this final straight that will make the difference between victory or defeat for Sebi. Although second place is still a great spot to be in. So here we go. This is going to be it. I think it might be a close finish. Okay, maybe not as much as I thought, because Sebi's already alongside. He's trying to put himself ahead. This is going to be a little bit close because Voltang, he's got a little bit less downforce, and that's allowing him to pull away a little bit. Sebi, though, he's getting DRS here, getting alongside. It's going to be close across the line, but Welting beats him by such a slim margin. Welting actually won the sprint. What a finish. With a fully broken front wing, Welting managed to take victory in the sprint race in Baku. Meanwhile, Kirito will finish up 3rd, Prid 4th, Radioactive 5th, Bill 6th, Wondertoe 7th, and Desernal 8th to round out the points finishes here in the sprint. The driver of the day goes to Kermit for honestly a really good comeback drive and taking advantage of the chaos to put himself into the top 10. Well, that was an exciting, if chaotic, sprint with a very close photo finish. I mean, there's a reason why people always say, well done, Baku, when it comes to this circuit. And if that was just a sprint, the main race is going to be even more exciting. We'll be seeing you all then in just a little bit for that.